Hey Clubbers, it's Mike, and before we start the show, a quick bit of housekeeping. In this episode, we reference our video over on the Patreon, but this time our video didn't work out. The technology gods were not on our side. Did I forget to hit the record button? Did the file just corrupt? There's some internal debate about what exactly happened here. But that being said, we took pictures of some of the things we're referring to in those conversations so you can still see some of the stuff we're talking about. But unfortunately, no video on the Patreon feed this week. But we'll be back in the coming weeks with more video goodness for the regular episode and the Patreon bonus. Thanks, that's it. Enjoy your regular feed First Issue Club episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the First Issue Club podcast. We are your weekly comic book reading club that talks about what?
First issues.
First issue comic books. Right in the title.
I got it.
You nailed it.
First time I was here, I was like, we talk about last issues. And the guys were like, no, you idiot. We talk about first issues.
That's right. And you've been on a roll ever since. We made you go out into the yard and pick your own Switch.
That's right.
And you brought it back in, sulking. You took forever to come back here, but it didn't stop the pain.
Yeah.
Did it?
No, Daddy.
And
it didn't.
So now you've learned, and we're ready to learn everyone else, to teach you about the ways of the first issue. This podcast is for anyone who knows what a comic book is. If you don't know what a comic book is, you might want to turn this off.
Or if you want to learn, we'll facilitate that learning.
Well, kind of.
Sure.
We might be a little too advanced for you if you don't even know what a comic book is.
You know, that's fair. I wanted to say we're for everybody, but you're right. If you don't know your Stan Lees from your Steve Ditko's, I mean, you could probably still hang out with us.
Yeah. It sounded like you were setting up for a "you might be a redneck" joke, but I couldn't pull out what the...
You might be a DC fan.
Uh-huh.
How about that?
You might be an athlete.
Yeah. You might be a jock.
But now everyone is a nerd.
That's right.
It's not just for us kids that got picked on in elementary school. Everyone's allowed to be a nerd for something.
I call us inside boys.
Or inside kids, for sure.
My brother was an outside boy. I am an inside boy.
You know, anime is one of those things that transcends outdoor and indoor kids.
Yeah.
Now, anyway.
Yeah. For sure. Some anime. I'll say that.
Certain anime.
Yeah.
Not everything.
Correct. Dragon Ball Z transcends.
Yeah, right. Everyone loves Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Nobody wants to watch the ones where they like ice skate or fence.
Yeah.
That's for inside boys.
I love the power dynamics in this fencing group. So intriguing.
I'd like to watch 9 seasons of this.
It really is. The way I think it's funny that people will watch anime, but then will be like, oh, I can't take this like romance Jane Austen stuff. So much of manga and anime is Jane Austen illustrated.
Oh.
It's just like a kid with a crush who's like longing for their like elbow to brush the other person's for like an entire TV season or an entire book, and the climax of it is like one tiny kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, just because the kids aren't named...
Oh, God.
Just because the kids aren't named Mr. Darcy and Heathcliff, you know?
Right, yeah. It's like so much of it is like classic romance stuff.
Yeah.
Anime's fun. Nerd culture is fun on the whole, as are comic books. And that's what we're here to discuss with you today.
Yep.
I read a handful. I'm a little behind on my comics.
I read 2 that came out this week.
Okay.
But I'm also very behind because of my new house.
Oh, that's right. New house project.
Before we get into that, I have one just tiny news hit.
Okay. I should have came with more news.
That's okay.
Okay.
So I was at my LCS the other day, and I saw a copy of Batman, Gargoyle of Gotham, sitting on the counter. And I said, there's no way I missed the launch of that book. And my friendly LCS owner said, that's the advanced copy. So, word to the wise, everyone out there, if you super want an advanced copy of Gargoyle of Gotham, your LCS might have one. I know that they are going for like $50 to $70 online right now. So you might have to pay a pretty penny if you super want one, but if you're cool with your LCS, they might sell it to you on the cheap or have a copy that nobody wants. So inquire around.
Does it have different markations on it that you know of that, like, when the first prints come out?
I did not see any.
Yeah.
But that,
just like, this is just people who want to, like, read it early, maybe.
Yeah. It might say, like, pre-publication or ashcan.
Do not resale or
whatever
something like that.
The thing is. I did not get a good look at it. I was not allowed to touch it. And I was not going to pay $50 for it.
Yeah.
So,
sheesh.
Yeah. So I will wait another 3 weeks like the rest of the plebs and read it when I can touch it with my greasy fingers.
Get your gloves on. Get your nerd gloves on.
Get your inside boy gloves.
You know what? I've never been a gloves reading sort of person, even if it's a higher end comic. I will say that I know CGC and the grading companies that professionally handle our comics do not wear gloves because they feel that you're more likely to mishandle a comic when wearing gloves.
I
it's
agree
safer.
with that.
It's safer when you have the tactile feel of like natural hands. They make sure their hands are clean,
right?
As less oil as possible.
Yeah,
they like scrub in like nurses, right?
Yeah,
before they start touching all your treasures.
Books, they probably do too.
Yeah,
but I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
yeah, because I wouldn't want to try and pull an Eternals #1 or a Werewolf by Night, whatever, out of a bag and board.
Yeah,
wearing
scary.
gloves.
Yeah,
no way. I would much rather try and cut it open wearing gloves than try and pull it out. But yeah. Interesting.
I will say though, in Kansas City, where we are home based out of,
yes,
much like the rest of the country and Midwest right now, it's been hitting 100 and above over the past week.
It's a million asshole degrees.
Yeah, we had 104 degrees the other day. That's the highest I remember seeing.
I turned on my car and it said 117, but that's because my car was like sitting in the sun.
Oh my god!
I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, it's brutal. You walk outside for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I might not make it back. My hands have been sweating profusely.
Yeah.
Which is making me so weird about catching up on my big stack of comic books that I'm trying to get through before my next pound of my next big huge box from Diamond arrives. But yeah, I've been putting my hand on the bottom of my board and then moving the pages, like barely touching them with my hand underneath the board. So like I'm never touching the underside of the comic just because my AC just can't keep up.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly sweating my ass off.
I sit on the kitchen table and just lay it flat.
You lay it flat on the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally I read my comics in bed and I just lay them on the bed and read them that way.
Oh, okay. It's cute picturing you just like with
kick my feet
kicking
up,
your feet up. Yeah, like you're like writing in your Dear Diary.
Dear Diary. Comics are very cool. I can't wait to talk to Mike and Greg about them. But my bed is too sweaty.
Yeah.
Too sweaty a place to be reading comic books right now. So I have migrated to the kitchen table.
Yeah. I will say, do you think are there comics where you're just like, this is a nothing burger comic that won't be worth anything? I don't feel so bad about like rolling it up, kicking back on the couch and reading it in a position where it may get a little creased, or are you like every comic is treated with equal care?
No, 99% of my collection is like, I don't,
Yeah.
whatever comics.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am not, any comic I buy is for reading.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, oh, a variant cover, whatever. If it's something,
you have a second copy of it. Yeah, you want a cool cover.
If it's something I'm buying just for the cover, I'm gonna put it in a bag and board and basically never touch it anyway.
Yeah.
Everything else is like a free for all.
Yeah. I'll say I'm also a person who buys to read. I don't buy like a ton of copies of something on speculation. I don't sell comics. That being said, I am so anal about my treatment of each and every comic that I own.
Yeah.
And when I pull something out that like probably I've got no reason to think that it's going to be a key issue of anything ever, it still drives me crazy that there's like a tiny tear in it, especially if I did it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm to blame for something being weird. And I'll say all the time too, like I have comics that like, now that they're making all these movies and TV shows, I've got tons of comics that you would have assumed at the time. Daredevil 11 and Charles Soule's run that we talked about a week or so ago on the Patreon is like, that book's selling for like $50-$60 raw right now because it was what's the character's name?
Murderer guy.
Muse. First appearance of Muse, who might be the villain in the upcoming Daredevil TV show. And if I didn't treat every comic with equal care, that certainly would have been a comic that like would have fallen between the gaps. The introduction of Jeff the Shark would have been it was like West Coast Avengers #7.
Yeah.
It was a very new comic book. Like I had no reason to think that would ever be a key comic book. And now it's like, if you get it in a 9.8, it's an extremely, it's like an over $100 comic somehow. People love their tiny cartoon shark.
You video watchers, watch Mike D's eyes pop out of his head as I tell him that I used to loan out my Edge of Spider-Verse 2.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, that kills me.
I mean, I would always be like, hey, this is probably worth something. So like, be nice to it. But yeah, I used to loan it out to people.
Wow. Sick.
And now it's what?
If you don't, a 9.8, that's like approaching $1,000 now. It's like an $800 comic book. I have a 9.6. I think it goes for like $550, $600 or something.
Yeah. Another comic I have that has a white cover.
You don't have that. You don't have yours graded?
No.
Do you think you'll send it in, or is it like?
I'd like to. I need to send it to CGC because I have it sketched by
Jason Latour. I have the exact same thing with mine.
My fingers are crossed because Robbie Rodriguez is starting to do cons again.
Oh, get the double sig.
Love to get it double sketched.
Oh yeah, they both sketch. Yeah.
Especially on that white, the white part of that cover.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my pie in the sky dream.
It does. That comic is really nice sketched because both creators do remarks on it pretty often. And the white space that's left for it is kind of where like a corner box normally is.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to have a creator drawing there.
Yeah.
I think the Jason Latour one's really cool because he's technically I know they're all co-creators, but he was like the writer.
He wrote it.
And yeah, I think that's really cool having his sketch in that spot. And his is really like unique and cool looking.
Yeah. And I don't know if he sketches all of them, but yeah, he did a little Spider-Gwen on yours too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to get that probably slabbed. I don't know what it would grade at. Mine doesn't look great, but
you should probably press it.
Probably.
Press that bad boy.
We'll see.
We're gonna upcoming.
I might loan it out some more.
Yeah, on the Patreon. There is. We talked on our Patreon this week about sending a bunch of books to CGC.
Yep.
And there's a couple that I had pressed that are otherwise really minty. The spots getting pressed out are not color breaking, and a lot of people take issue with CGC's pressing services. And I don't know if that's if people are just nitpicky or if they don't do a good job or what, but when we get our shipment back of around 40-ish comics, we're going to unpack those on the Patreon, live react to the grades we got, and see how we did on the pressing stuff, and maybe give some advice if those grading companies do a good job or not on pressing.
Yeah, nice.
So that'll be fun.
Good stuff.
Another reason to join us over on the Patreon.
That's right. It's always a good time.
Yeah.
Any other news or things you want to discuss before we talk about those lovely, lovely money holes we call comic books?
Comic books. I don't think so. If anything comes up, I'll interrupt. I'll stop everything we're doing, throw our conversation off course.
Please do.
And make sure we talk about the time-stamped relevant news that we'll never get to talk about ever again.
Perfect.
All right.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first.
I love it.
My phone is recording our video for our Patreon, so I can't reference it for info about the thing that I read. But I did read Realm of X #1.
Oh, okay.
Which is a team of mutants who kind of got sent off into one of the 10 realms.
Yeah, they're in like Svartalfheim or something, right?
One of the Svartalfheims. And it's cool. It feels very much like, I think it's a good comic if you like X-Men and you also like D&D type stuff. It feels very much like a D&D campaign, and I think the title of it being kind of like a Realm of X thing, just it sounds very like we have a party that like woke up in a strange enchanted land, and then they come upon a battle, and it just reads really fun like that.
That's a dope team too. Sorry, I was looking up trying to find the creative team for you, but it's Magic, Danny Moonstar, Marrow, Dust, Curse, and Typhoid Mary.
Typhoid Mary is a really fun. When you think about the makeup of the team too, you've like got your chaotic character, your altruistic character, your like strong badass warrior character.
Yeah.
Like it's a really Dust is kind of like a mage magician type.
Yeah.
Like it's Magic has lost her powers. So we don't have like a conflicting magician role
Got
here.
it. Yeah.
She's like a cool character who's along for the ride, but she's there as like a badass fighter and not so much like a
magic user.
A magic user, yeah. And then Marrow is a character that like I barely see in comics anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I loved that. I thought that character was so cool, had such an awesome design. I love the Joe Mad version of Marrow.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, I thought that was just so cool.
I used to watch a ton of X-Men Evolution, and she was like a big part of that team.
I don't know if I know what X-Men Evolution is.
It's an animated TV show, but she was like
one of the characters.
One of the characters.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
All right, rad.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's streaming anywhere.
If it's anywhere, it's on Disney+.
It's probably Disney+. Yeah,
it would have to be. And also, that's X-Men Evolution was first appearance of X-23.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It was a cartoon character first?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, her and Harley Quinn.
Bizarre. Two of like the biggest young female characters in Marvel and DC. That's neat.
Yeah.
That's a cool parallel.
Yeah. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
There you go.
I love it. These characters are still wearing their outfits from the Hellfire Gala too.
Awesome.
So they're like decked out in like really fancy garb.
I love that.
It kind of adds to the like ancient adventuring type. Like, why are they so decked out in their like fanciest clothes? It just has a cool look to it. But yeah, they found themselves in the middle of a battle for the realm, and we find out that there's like an evil witch that's coming for the inhabitants of the land, and their arrival was foretold, and they've got statues of Marrow and Typhoid Mary and Danny in this like great hall that they have. So they're kind of like warriors of legend who are destined to come. And this witch character is alluded to throughout the book, and then you find out at the end that it's Saturnine. So we've again got to tie back to a very like those Excalibur, Otherworld type comics that again feel very role play,
Yeah,
and super nerdy. So yeah, really fun team. Beautiful art. I love the art. I don't know if Stephanie Hahn
yep, she did the cover.
did the cover, and then whoever did the interiors I really liked.
So Torrin Gronbeck
Is the writer?
is the writer. They did Thor.
Yes.
After Al Ewing Donny Cates.
Yeah.
After he took off.
Yep.
And Diongus Neves, Neves, Neves,
Yeah, I don't know.
did the art. I gotta say, Marvel has a lot of up and coming talent.
Yeah.
Like non-Stormbreaker up and coming talent. You know, like
right.
it seems like every other book I pick up from them is like, oh, I've never heard of this person, but this art is like out of this world. So
It has been I don't know if like they've retired the Stormbreaker thing.
they did a 2023 Stormbreaker thing this year.
Oh,
Like,
did they really?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year.
It's been the same people for a minute now.
Yeah, Patrick Gleason and Umberto Ramos are always Stormbreakers. And Peach Momoko.
And Peach Momoko, yeah. It seems like something they should rotate these cast of characters out for, like, to highlight more young people. Like, you should change them every year. And just be like, these are the Stormbreakers this year.
That's why I really liked that.
Natasha Bustos was one, and it was like,
yeah,
brought me. Now I'm a fan of hers. Otherwise, you know, I do think it matters. I think it's one of those things where I would not have recognized Natasha Bustos' work that she was doing. I would have seen it and liked it, but I might not have associated it with a person so quickly. I guess.
Yeah.
So it makes you a fan of someone quicker when Marvel champions them and puts their name on a list that gets like fed to you through like promos in their inside the comics.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great program, but yeah, sometimes it seems like there are artists in it that are just like hanging around forever. Maybe I'm not understanding the format of it right, but I thought the intention was to introduce new talent.
That's what I thought it was too,
Yeah.
but one of their first ones was seriously Umberto Ramos.
Yeah.
And he's been drawing for them for 40 years or something. You know,
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah.
whatever. I really liked when DC did, and I think I covered this, but they did that milestone like universe program thing where they got the like 12 unknown writers
yes.
and 12 unknown artists and paired them up to do that like
That thicker bound.
yeah, that in-universe thing. That was so dope. And if Marvel did the same thing, I mean, that is a home run
Yeah.
for everybody.
I'll say that Marvel Voices is one of those things where they have like they tell a bunch of minis
Yeah.
that are and the Voices series is typically
Minority groups.
representative of minority groups, right?
Yeah.
So you have people who are underrepresented in comic books getting exposure
Yeah.
through Marvel Voices, which is really cool. And you see like amazing talent in those things, and you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, this person should be a name in the
Yeah.
comic industry. So it's really cool to find people that way.
Yeah, Maria Wolf was in one of them.
Yeah, Maria Wolf's so fucking
so
cool.
rad. So, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so Realm of X. My question is, I enjoy X books. I don't have the wallet to pursue the X storyline.
Yeah.
Can I pick up Realm of X and enjoy it without being neck deep in X stuff?
I think if we're talking about you specifically,
Okay.
I think
Sure.
I think yes.
Okay.
I think you know enough about. Did you read the Hellfire Gala issue?
No, they were out.
But you know enough about
Yeah.
it. that you can understand the context for like what it spun out of. It is, an interesting group of characters, some like Dust you might not be as familiar with, right? I'm assuming.
Created by Grant Morrison.
Oh, so you're
I know
a Dust fan? All right. So yeah, then you're probably pretty good to go on this book. I think because they're like cast off into like one of the realms that it will feel pretty contained and standalone.
Cool.
It's not like the second issue is going to have like 20 other obscure X-Men with like interrelationships that you're just trying to be like, wait, why do these people not like each other? And why are these people clicking up? Like it seems like it's very cut off from the other Marvel Universe stuff. And it's a 5-parter that seems really fun, especially if you're like a Thor fan and you get to dabble in Ramuffleheim or wherever it is. If it has,
they're in Vanaheim, if anyone's actually interested.
Okay. It's got that Thor feeling to it. So I think it's a really fun book.
Cool.
I think there are people who are like, if you're less of a Marvel head or just haven't been reading Marvel comics as long, you're still going to see a team of like badass women chopping through stuff, and it'll probably be fun, but there probably is going to be a lot of conversation and dialogue there that is just going to go over your head because it is still X-Men stuff.
So would you say that...
I think you are fine as like someone who reads a lot of comics but may not necessarily be steeped in X-Men stuff. Other people who would just like enjoy the X-Men cartoon and are trying to look to get back in, this still might not be a good side quest for you.
Would you say that... I see what you did there. Would you say that the Hellfire Gala is like kind of a prerequisite to reading this? Or no?
I think if you don't understand... I think you could probably pick this up as like a self-contained trade and just be like, oh, they woke up in like a fun, undiscovered land. And still have fun with it. Okay.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
So it kind of reminds me of what that one run of Champions did for their last like 4 issues or whatever, where they were dropped off in Weird World, and it was like literally D&D but with Miles Morales and Riri Williams.
Yeah,
that's dope. I'm totally gonna pick up Realm of X.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Right on.
Very cool. So the first one I read was Gunbreed. This is first and foremost a weird sized comic. We talk about this on the Patreon, but it is like exactly the size of a current board. So it's like taller and wider.
Yeah, like barely fits in the bag.
And I think that is because it's an indie book. And when I say indie book, I mean it's by Blood Moon Comics. You ever heard of Blood Moon Comics?
I have not. Would I have bought, and no offense to anybody, but if I'd had a Blood Moon comic book in my collection, it would be in my micro-publisher section.
Oh, for sure.
I've got a series of box called Micropubs. That I organize by publisher if I've got like 5 or more of the books. And then there's a section at the end that's just like, I only have one of these.
Yeah.
This would definitely be in the I only have one of these pile.
So this book actually came out back in July.
Does it feel weird? Is the texture of it different than like a normal comic?
It's like kind of like newsprinty.
Okay,
but it's still like, it's glossy enough.
It's black and white?
It's black and white.
Okay.
This book actually came out in July, and it's a 3-parter. The thing that I have to point out is that this is an original character. He is a undead sheriff who, in the first of many mini stories, is brought back to life to seek vengeance against the man who killed his son. So he is a servant of death itself, wreaking his undead justice across the Wild West. And what I have to read is the dedication here. So it's created by Angel Fuentes. It's dedicated to Alex A. Fuentes. And the quote is, "His head is not on fire, but he's a writer and he's undead. 2 out of 3." Which cracks me up. Because there's just like somebody acknowledging that this is like kind of a Ghost Rider ripoff right on the front page.
Yeah, that's funny.
But no, this is, to say that this is a Ghost Rider ripoff is severely, I think, downplaying the quality of the stories that are in this book.
Well, and from what I caught of the art, it's pretty nice for such a small publisher that like I've never heard of.
Yeah.
It looks like, I mean, someone with chops did this.
Oh yeah. And so
a handful of different artists.
Yeah. So there are 1, 2, 3.
And they're all looking good.
There are 4 different stories in this book.
Yeah.
All about our guy here on the cover. All by different artists.
Cool.
And yeah, so the first one is that jumping off point, so you kind of get to know the character. It introduces you to his kind of world and his mission. He is saddled with the Gunbreed, which is kind of like Cullen Bunn's 6th gun, guns of supernatural power.
Yep.
But I think the highlight is that first story. And then the last story in the book is he shows up to a house where a bunch of different gods are playing Texas Hold'em for the fate of the world.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he antes in his all-powerful supernatural guns and sits with the gods and plays cards.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's fun.
It's a very cool story. So there are 2 other issues of this. I would highly recommend it. For $3.99 for something that somebody clearly put a lot of love into. There's a lot of heart and soul in this art, a lot of heart and soul in these stories. This is something that I would definitely read an ongoing of.
Yeah.
It's kind of Jonah Hex like turned up another couple of notches.
Totally.
It's great stuff. So again, I've never heard of Blood Moon Comics. I've never heard of any of these creators, but Gunbreed gets the Vargas stamp of approval.
Yeah, the art and design of everything was really nice.
Yeah.
One of the things that I feel like when you see smaller publishers or like self-published books, one of the quick tells that someone hasn't like done a lot of comics is the size of the text. Is normally huge if someone doesn't like. People always do it oversized if they don't really get comic book design.
Yeah,
and all this stuff looks right on like by somebody who's a pro.
It looks really great. I would kill to see this stuff like colorized.
Yeah,
and not to knock any of the art because the black and white is awesome, but.
It's probably a budget thing.
Yeah, I mean, pay these guys to like make a bigger book, right?
Yeah.
I would absolutely pay $3.99 once a month to read this story.
Rad.
So, cool to find a book like that, roll the dice and have it really, really pay off.
Yeah.
So cool stuff.
Gunbreed on Blood Moon.
Again.
I'll have to Google them.
Never heard of it. Hopefully they're okay people.
No, we'll take it back if we find out we get on their Twitter and it's not so hot.
Yeah.
When do you think we're going to get to a point where we stop saying Twitter?
Oh, because it's X now.
It's X.
I will never say X. How about that? There's your answer.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. The older you get in life too, the more you realize there's just like in Kansas City, they'll change the names of like parts of town, or they'll like they redid the like big exchange on the highway where traffic used to back up, and they called it something else because everyone always called it the Grandview Triangle.
Oh,
and Grandview's like a suburb of Kansas City, and they were like, we don't like that our city name is associated with like
Traffic.
hatred for traffic. That people just think of like a highway exchange that fucking sucks when they think of Grandview. And so they changed the name of the traffic exchange, and I mean, I couldn't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It'll always be the Grandview Triangle for me. I think that's just the thing about like having known something for so long.
Oh, for sure.
It'll just like, I'll never be like, oh, did you see what someone zeeted?
Yeah.
Instead of tweeted. I think they're trying to call it zeeting.
Okay.
This is not a fresh take, I know. I haven't heard anyone else talk about it, so it just popped into my head.
Here's a good question to jump off of that, right?
Yeah.
What's the company that owns Instagram?
The company that owns Instagram
Is
my head goes to Facebook.
Yeah. It's not Facebook. It's called
Not
Meta.
Facebook. It's called Meta. Yeah.
But it's Facebook.
Yeah.
Right?
Completely.
Same shit.
Yes. 100%.
What's the company that owns Google? Alphabet.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The Google's parent company is called Alphabet.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's fucking Google.
Yeah.
Like
Alphabet. Weird.
yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else? I don't want to jump over you if you have another book to talk about. I had another book to talk about. Where did it go?
It's hidden in your pile here.
It's hidden in my pile. Oh no, I left it over in my thing. Hold please.
Time out. You know, we've got a lot of comics over here. And sometimes
okay, I'm back. Sorry everyone. So this next one, I have to start with a joke for those who get the joke, and for those that don't, I'm sorry, but
some inside humor here.
The French comic books. So I read Orson Welles, Warrior of the Worlds.
Oh, okay. How about it?
If you don't get the joke, go on YouTube and search for Orson Welles champagne commercial, and you will laugh for 100 years.
Yeah, it's
anyway,
wild.
So Orson Welles, Warrior of the Worlds, out on Scout Comics. This book is about Orson Welles. At the very beginning of the book, he dies in a manner very similar to Charles Foster Kane in Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And one of his, I'll say, proteges is trying to make a documentary about his life and potentially recover some unseen footage that he has shot, right?
Uh-huh.
Kind of yada, yada, yada. There is an investigation. I am underplaying how intriguing the story is. This is a good book, but the end of the book ends up with, you find out that War of the Worlds, his famous radio broadcast in the 30s, was real.
Okay. Interesting.
And he ended up founding an agency of the government that was in charge of protecting the planet from those aliens.
Wow.
And his protege has to then like pick up that responsibility.
Okay, huh. Wild.
Yeah, you didn't see that coming, did you?
I figured if anything, this was going to be like a retelling of War of the Worlds or something.
It kind of is.
It's funny that it like takes a play on him as a real person and gives some like alternate reality version of who Orson Welles was.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if his estate like approved this or if someone just wrote it.
No idea.
Huh.
I mean, it's on Scout, so that's not nothing.
Yeah, right.
It's not a nobody writing it.
Uh-huh.
I guess I could pop it open and see, I guess. But this was a really actually fun book.
Cool.
I bought it as a bit because I thought the covers were funny.
Yeah, it's just cool to have Orson Welles on a cover.
Right.
Mashed with like outer space.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Very, like,
this is actually the B
freaky
cover.
deaky sci-fi cover.
Yeah,
That's cool. I love that.
The B cover for those of you who are watching the video.
Very haunting.
Yeah. but the story was actually intriguing to see like this protege kind of going down the trail and finding these little pieces of information like, oh, there's something else going on here. And then, it kind of all hits the rails as comics tend to do in the last 5 pages or so. And then it really pops off. The other really cool thing about this is the first half of the book is kind of in grayscale, right? Mm-hmm. And then there gets to a point where the protege character has an out-of-body experience, like flashback thing. Yeah. And that's all in color. Cool. So everything that happens in the past that she is like experiencing kind of with and through Orson's younger self is all in color. Yep. But all the stuff that's happening in the present of 1985 is in black and white.
That's really cool. There's a handful of like graphic novels and comics that I've read where they really use that trick to like an amazing for an amazing story point where you're just like, holy shit, like setting you up to think that an entire comic looks one way. Yeah. And then you turn the page and it's like, oh my God. Well, and it is really striking.
And what's very cool is that they did it in such a way that like the stuff that's happening in the current day, these characters they're not elderly, but they're like in their 50s and 60s. Yeah. Right. So they're like established in the world, kind of day in, day out kind of people just working on this project. And then when you get to the color stuff, it's like, not only is it this alien attack, but everybody's in their 20s, right? Yeah. So they're raring to go and whatever. She looks in the mirror and she sees her 20-year-old face and she's like, oh my God, I look so young. And she sees young Orson Welles and he's fighting an alien and, so it works on 2 levels where they're whatever. So
right on.
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
I am historically not a huge Scout Comics fan, but this one, they really knocked it out of the park. I really like this. So right on. I hope it continues to be this good.
You can go on the Scout Comics website and buy decals of this comic book. You can buy mugs of this comic book, keychains of this comic book, T-shirts of this comic book. They really go over the top with the amount of just like stuff.
Find a link to their whatnot where they're selling an exclusive cover in their mystery box.
In their mystery box, yeah. Get some coasters while you're at it and a beer koozie.
Hopefully licensed by the Wells estate.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows?
Well, we did it.
We did it again.
We recorded. Now we're going to go to sleep. We're going to slumber for 7 days.
That's right.
Awake again from our cocoons. Gorgeous butterflies. Ready to read more comic books and delight you with our learnings.
Yep, that's it. You nailed it.
All right.
I'm a moth, though.
Okay, you're a moth. I'm a butterfly. Greg is...
He's more of a crab.
A crab.
He molts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's just sitting in the corner. Some of his exoskeleton still attached, trying to wriggle free of it while the sun burns his...
Pale skin.
Pale skin.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us.
First Issue Club is edited and produced by Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtag, and Andy Vargas. Follow us on social media at First Issue Club, and check out our Patreon for videos, audio, and more at patreon.com/firstissueclub.